All right. Welcome to the Viking Age podcast. I'm your host, Adam Patrick. I'm the editor and lead writer for thevikingage.com. And today I am not joined by Chris Shad, but I am joined by a special guest. He is none other than Onebar from the uh, world famous Onebar and Lupugus show on YouTube. He and Lupugus, who actually writes for us here at the Viking Age, produced a ton of great Vikings related video content over on their channel, which I think is almost up to 8,000 subscribers. So go give that a look. So just welcome to the show, Onebar.
Yeah, I wish I was as good looking as Chris, but I'll do my best. And I'm happy to be on here. I look forward to talking to some Vikings, talk to some people off the cliff.
Yeah, we apparently we need that. Before we start today's show, make sure if you're watching this on YouTube to like this video, subscribe, and if you have already, we appreciate you. Make sure to follow on Twitter and Facebook. And also, we still have a contest where we're giving away a free Justin Jefferson jersey. The details to enter that are in the description of this video, so go check that out if you're watching on YouTube. Yeah, go check that out to try and win a free Justin Jefferson jersey. All right. Onebar. Sometimes I like to open the show with some random Vikings trivia, but I feel like there's just a little too much to talk about when it comes to last night's disaster. So let's just get right into it. So riding high after a big Week 1 win over the Packers, the Vikings were brought back down to earth on Monday night when the Eagles pretty much punched them in the mouth and beat them 24-7 to hand the Vikings their first loss of this season. Nothing really went well for the Vikings on offense or defense. I guess the punter did pretty good.
Ryan
Yeah.
Wright, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Yes.
It was just a really bad performance from a team that was viewed as a NFC contender just a week ago. Everyone was hopping on that bandwagon, and now they're 1-1. And they got plenty to fix before they take on the Lions next Sunday. But, what was just your general reaction to the awfulness that happened on Monday night in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I mean, you say we got punched in the mouth, we got punched in the knees, we got punched in the crotch, we got punched in every single orifice of our body. But I mean, you kind of said it, you alluded to it, is we're coming off the Packers victory, and not just a Packers victory, but a Packers absolute stomping. So my mindset is more like it doesn't hurt as bad because of what we did in Week 1. And going into this game, I mean, when you ask for a general reaction, I predicted the Vikings to win. I actually, not just talking with my purple heart, I actually thought the Vikings were going to win. I know it's Monday night. I know it's the Eagles. We got everything against us. I figured it was going to be a very high-scoring game. I figured it was going to be close. So I was definitely shocked and very surprised on the outcome. But looking at this Eagles team, I mean, Lupugus and I went live after the game and we were just talking. And it's like, this Eagles team is actually pretty damn good. I mean, at some point, we're going to have to give them a little bit of love. But I just wish it would have been closer. I mean, I know we're going to be probably talking about some defense and some other things like that, some other things that just went completely off the rails compared to Week 1. But my general reaction is I was surprised. But usually after a Vikings loss, I don't sleep very well. But for some weird reason, I slept okay last night.
Yeah, I think my reaction too wasn't as maybe harsh as it would have been in the past. Where I think too, because I was kind of maybe I was expecting this because as Vikings fans we're used to getting those highs like we got against the Packers in Week 1, and then everyone was just like, "This team is great. They're going to the Super Bowl. Like, here we go. They're gonna be the best team in the NFC." And I even said it on this show like last week. I was like, "Let's chill out. Let's slow down here. We've been here before. We've the Vikings have started 5-0 before, 2 times, and
Ugh,
missed the
no.
playoffs both times. So let's chill out." But yeah, and even before the season, I think a lot of people actually just figured this game was probably going to be a loss. I don't think they figured it was going to be like this. I think they probably figured it might have been closer, like you thought it was going to be. But I think a lot of people already had this game as a loss, so it might have not been as big of a deal as maybe it would have been like losing. Maybe if they lose to the Lions next week, people are going to be like, "Oh, okay," which kind of seems possible now.
Did
But
you did you predict the Vikings to win, or what was your prediction? Do you think they're going to win or lose?
before it, okay, after the Packers game, I did predict them to win, on our show or whatever. But before the season even started, before I knew, like, I guess what the Vikings were capable of in that first game, I thought this was a loss. Like, when I did my like game by game predictions, I predicted them to beat the Packers and then lose to the Eagles, just because it's Philadelphia. It's tough environment on the road. I don't want to do the typical Kirk Cousins Monday night thing, but like some reason, like the bright lights just get to him. He has some wins in prime time, but they're against opponents that aren't that great. The Eagles are good. Like, I think that's what I came out of this game too. Like you, like the Eagles are good. Like, if they can stay healthy, they're gonna do some things. And I wouldn't, if I was the Vikings, I would not want to go to Philadelphia again in the playoffs if that happens again, because I don't think there's a very good chance of them coming out with a win. Um, just looking at everybody you could blame. Like, Kevin O'Connell came out after the game and was like, "This one's on me," and I'm like, "Okay, thanks for doing that," but a lot of people made mistakes on Monday night. But like, is there anyone that sticks out as deserving the most blame? Are there people that deserve like an even amount of blame? Do you agree with Kevin O'Connell that this was on him? Like, who are you putting blame on after this?
I mean, I love Kevin O'Connell on what he's been doing so far. He's
Hmm.
getting slimed. He's being the players' coach. He's doing
Yep.
everything. He's even taking the losses. But Ed Donatello should have came out and said, "This one's on me."
Hmm.
I don't know where the hell he was, and maybe he did. I didn't see anything what he said today. I mean, it was a gross game. Everybody played gross. Like you said, I mean, when the punter is the player of the game, he had some serious issues in that game, and he was the player of the game.
Hmm.
So I Kirk Cousins, I'm a Kirk Cousins, I'm a Kirk Cousins fan.
Yeah.
I like Kirk Cousins. I'm realistic with Kirk Cousins. He
Yeah.
had a horrible game, gross
Yes.
game. But the defense is just, I mean, it should be an unsolved mystery. I do not get what the hell they were doing yesterday. None of it makes sense. It was night and day. I don't know how you shut down Aaron Rodgers to less than 200 yards and no touchdowns, and then all of a sudden just do what we did last night. So defense 100% gets this loss. And it's not even close for me. I mean, Irv dropping passes, Jefferson doing that weird route where he went behind him, whatever. It would have made it closer, but this
Hmm.
defense was disgusting. It was horrible. I hated it.
So do you think the defense played better in the second half because they didn't give up any points? Do you think that was more of like of the Eagles just being like, we're not really gonna like try a whole lot?
Yeah, I know. I think at that point the Eagles are like, these guys, we just need to run out this clock.
Yeah.
It was funny because I mentioned that, and Lupugus put me in my place real quick and said, look, the Eagles weren't even trying in the second half. They're just trying to get the game over,
Yeah.
which is probably definitely there's something to it. I mean, I don't even they averaged like 8 yards a play or something
Yeah.
crazy like
Yeah.
that. I didn't see it,
Yeah.
but they were almost toying with us. So I would love to say, yeah, our defense came out and we shut them out in the second half. But if they were had the pedal to the metal, I think it probably would have been much grosser. I mean,
Oh
what are
yeah.
you feeling? Who is this on?
It's on Ed Donatel for sure. At least, definitely in the first half, and in the second half, I feel like the Vikings had opportunities. They had
Did.
the blocked field goal. They got the interception. Like, both the interception was deep in Eagles territory, and they came up with no points. They got the blocked field goal, and they came up with no points. Kirk Cousins, yeah, he had a terrible game. If you want to say the first interception to Justin Jefferson wasn't his fault, that's fine. I think interceptions, for the most part, a lot of the time are quarterback's fault. Like, he's an 11-year vet. Put the ball where only Justin Jefferson can get it, and if he can't, then hopefully it goes out of bounds. But don't. It looked like an underthrow. I don't know. It was a weird play. The other two interceptions were terrible, so he doesn't get any excuses for those. And he was just weird the whole game. Like, I looked at his like pass chart or whatever, like on next gen stats, and he had like 3 incompletions behind the line of scrimmage, and I'm like, how do you even do that? Um, but like you said, like he has his good moments. You're a realist when it comes to Kirk Cousins, and I think sometimes that can even be misinterpreted as hate, for not like just glorifying him for everything, or taking pointing fingers at other people when things go wrong. But speaking of Cousins specifically, do you think this game proves that we're probably not gonna see much change out of Cousins this season? Like, it's gonna be probably the same stuff that we're used to, or should we wait and see if Kevin O'Connell can kinda get something different out of this guy?
I think it proves that we're definitely going to see a more aggressive Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't think we're going to see the same old Kirk Cousins. I think his stats are going to be worse. I mean, I don't have them in front of me, but I know the last couple of years he's 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, whatever it is, very low interceptions.
Yes.
I think they're going to give Kirk Cousins a lot more freedom and ability to make some gross passes. Some are going to pan out, some aren't. Last night, clearly, they did not pan out. But the
No.
same old Cousins, I don't think so. This
Okay.
was easily, I mean, someone was referencing a game from 2020 that he had that was horrible, and I can't remember what it was. This is the worst game I can.
The Falcons game?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, this was the worst one I can remember of Kirk Cousins because the Eagles even dropped some picks. I mean, he
Yep.
could have had like 6 interceptions. This was
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see a more aggressive Cousins, and his stat line might not make up for it, but I could see him having a game where all of a sudden he goes out there and has 5 touchdown passes and a pick. And then the next game he has 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I just think we're going to see a different version of him where the chains are let off a little bit. But you mentioned those passes before the line of scrimmage. I mean, he was throwing those. I mean, how many did you say there was? 3? I don't.
Incompletes, just 3 incompletes.
Yeah, I mean, those things drive me nuts. Those things drive me absolutely nuts. But he's coming off a game against the Packers that has a very good secondary. His quarterback rating was like $120 or something, and had
Yeah.
two touchdowns and no interceptions. So I just hope we get a little bit more consistency. Let's just find out what this Kirk Cousins is going to be.
Yeah, I would say the Eagles secondary is pretty good too. And the Lions, I think it's gonna be a little easier for Justin Jefferson probably to get open on
I hope
Sunday.
so.
Uh, Defense for the Vikings, I'm not so sure against the Lions. That's gonna be, interesting. I think Sunday will be a high scoring affair. So you're not overreacting to this. You're not like the Vikings need to like just get ready to draft a quarterback this year, or are you like let's do it like let's get on board right now. Let's get the ball rolling and start scouting some quarterbacks. Are you leaning that way?
I'm a fan of taking a quarterback every year. It doesn't have
Yeah,
to be early, but let's take a quarterback every damn year. I mean, Kellen Mond, yeah, that turned out it was not great. I mean, we've had some issues at quarterback. Take one every damn year. Watching this game doesn't make me think that Kirk Cousins isn't the future. The
yeah,
interesting part about that is we know coaches and GMs leashes have gotten shorter and
yep,
shorter
yep,
and shorter. So they need to shit or get off the pot with Kirk Cousins because they're not going to be around for 4 years. I mean, are they going to live and die by Cousins? That's what we're going to have to decide. If for some reason this season goes completely off the rails and Kirk Cousins is a complete crap show, yeah, by all means, let's bring in a quarterback. And that's more so just me thinking that realistic, like Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell are going to be like, we need to do something. I mean, if this is disgusting season, they need to do it. But I'm not on it. I think Kirk Cousins is still going to be here for a couple of years. I think Kevin O'Connell's love fest with him is. I mean, they love each other, and unless something goes completely wrong, I can't see like a round 1, round 2 quarterback. Even though this draft appears to be very thick
yeah,
with beautiful quarterbacks.
yeah. It seems like it's stacking up. Yeah, I mean Kevin O'Connell's got the frame Kirk Cousins jersey in his office, so he's they're like the best buds.
You got one behind that curtain, I know it.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Michigan State jersey. That's what I have back there. Speaking of maybe some overreactions, I know you hang out on Twitter sometimes, so you've probably seen some crazy thoughts. But is there any big overreactions that you've seen or heard from after the Vikings lost in the last 24 hours? Like fire Kirk or fire Donatel or whatever, or should have kept Zimmer or anything crazy like that.
Should have kept Zimmer. I've had some Zimmer comments, but I don't know. I mean, the craziest ones, you've probably seen some crazier ones, but just the fact that all of a sudden coming out, the funny part is we come off the Packers win. And that's the best part about this is people can go so damn quick to where
Yeah.
all of a sudden we're going to win the North. And then we lose the Eagles on Monday night. And then all of a sudden it's like, this is a sub 500 team. They suck. It's the same thing. The best part is they're saying like, see, Zimmer wasn't wrong, blah blah
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden to just be, the season's over after 2 weeks. It's laughable. I mean, what'd you find? You had to find some good ones.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of good ones. I think some of the stuff about like Kirk Cousins, when he plays bad, everyone just kind of like piles on him, and I'm like, he threw 3 interceptions, so like, he didn't play well, so he is deserving of
Gross
criticism. Yeah,
interceptions.
like if like Joe Burrow did this in week 1, he got tons of criticism. Like, this happens. It's not just Kirk Cousins. I know it seems like it because he's on prime time and everything. That just like blew up everything because everyone's like, "Oh, Kirk Cousins' primetime records even terrible now." That's easy money for people to do. But yeah, like overreactions. There's always going to be overreactions. I think I tweeted this out. I found this out like this morning. I just was like randomly looking at stuff. Um, so the Vikings this year, they won their game. They won a home game and they lost an away game by 17 points. Uh, the last 2 times they won the NFC North, 2015 and 2017, their first 2 games, they won a home game and they lost the road game by 17 points.
Boom. There we
So
go.
I was
Put her
like,
down.
here we go, NFC North. Here we go right now. But the main part of that was just to like get people to be like, guys, it's the second game of the season. Like, there is a long time for things to turn around. So I'm not too worried yet.
Those are the facts we need, though. We see everybody when there's a Monday night game throwing out Kirk Cousins' record and throwing out Vikings, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. It's like, come on, man. There's a side to everything on this. So
Yeah.
another overreaction I saw: Dalvin Cook. People were saying that Dalvin Cook, he's done. He's washed up. I mean, what's your thoughts on Dalvin Cook? Why aren't
They
you
were
feeding him the
behind.
rock?
They were behind 17 points. What, like,
It's valid. It's
they
valid.
tried to get him the ball and screens and everything, but it wasn't working. Like, when you're down by that many points, you're probably not going to run the ball unless you are, like Zimmer. You got to stick. You got to stick with the run game. But yeah, another stat that I found that isn't as great is about the defense, and they gave up 485 total yards to the Eagles last night. Um, during the Mike Zimmer era, which I think was like 134 games or whatever, they gave up more than 485 yards 5 times.
Oh,
So
damn.
2 games into the Kevin O'Connell era, they've already done it once. So not off to a good. Yeah, what was that defense though? Like, it looked like prevent the whole time. I don't. People are saying they were trying to dare Jalen Hurts to throw the ball, but like after the first quarter when he starts off like perfect, isn't that a sign to not do that anymore?
Yeah, that was I actually believe the fact that they were going into this game, they're going to make Jalen Hurts beat him with his arm.
Yeah.
But what you say is exactly. I mean, he ended up he had like 5 or 6 incompletions. He had 300 plus yards. Clearly was beat. I mean, when these guys were catching the balls, they had 5 yards to do whatever they want before anyone was even around them. So that's the part that burns my ass the most is they didn't adjust at all.
No.
At all. I mean, this defense, it was like Tecmo Bowl. You just do that one curling route every damn time and you're going to get a first down. I didn't get it. That was the worst part of last night.
Yeah,
No
just
adjustments.
I think it might have been Kevin Seifert or something that said like the average amount of separation each Eagles receiver had was like 4 yards whenever they were targeted, which is insane.
Yeah, and I don't
Um,
know. Do you put that? Is that on the player? Is that what they're supposed to? I don't get it. I don't
yeah,
get to
we
who.
don't know.
I don't understand who to be mad at.
They benched Dantzler towards the end of the game, which was weird too, because I think a lot of people thought he was playing well. I think it might have been Luke Braun that kind of alluded to the long bomb kind of being on Dantzler and him taking like the wrong coverage,
Yep.
not getting
No.
blamed on Bynum. So that might have played a part in it, but I thought Dantzler did. Otherwise, I thought Dantzler did pretty good. He had a bunch of good tackles, some stops, but yeah, it was just they didn't make any adjustments. They were getting like the linebackers were getting beat, safeties were getting beat. I think Zadarius Smith had like 5 pressures. He was like the only real highlight, I guess. They had some decent sacks, but yeah, Jalen Hurts completed over 83% of his passes. What?
Yeah, and Danzler, I'm on your Danzler had a few really good series back to back, which made his game look a little bit better than it probably was. I didn't see his PFF score at all, but I saw that too, where he got yanked
Yeah,
for some play where he just completely biffed it. And Danzler, I think, is going to be a guy that is just completely up and down
yeah,
until he figures it out, or maybe he's just going to be inconsistent. But yeah, I mean, the no pressure. Where's the blitzes? Where's our run defense?
yeah,
I want horrible Harry up in their
yeah.
butts every damn play. It was just weird, and that's the only way I can describe it. It was just weird as hell.
Now we can say that the Eagles' offensive line much better than what the Packers had last week because they didn't have Bakhtiari, they didn't have
Yeah, I
Jenkins.
like your line. Landon Dickerson,
Yeah,
the dude kept, what do you have, like 3 penalties right off the bat. I was getting so damn happy. He kept going out. I don't know what he's doing,
was
going
it
for a
illegal
pass.
man downfield? Yeah, yeah, they had a lot of those, man.
Yeah, but their offensive line is, I mean, Kelsey's
Yeah,
still playing at a high level. I love Landon Dickerson, and
yeah,
they got
Lane
they have some
Johnson.
good players. Yeah.
Yeah, it's much better than what the Packers had. So I'm sure that played into it. I'm sure the Vikings this year, just all year, they're going to depend on their pass rush kind of making up for their lack of talent in the secondary. And they're going against the Lions on Sunday, who they have a pretty good offensive line too. So
Oh yeah.
they're gonna have to figure some things out. Here's a question for you: where have Adam Thielen and KJ Osborn been the first 2 weeks of the season?
Yeah. I mean, Osborn especially. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't even think that dude. Do these guys have 10 targets on the season? I
He's got
mean,
5 he's got 5 he's got as many catches as, Johnny Munt this year, I know that.
Munt, Munt,
Yeah,
Munt,
yeah.
Munt. Love us
KJ
some Johnny Munt,
KJ
baby.
Osborn and Johnny Munt have the same amount of catches this season. That's not good. That's
I would be surprised if KG Osborne has more than 8 targets the entire so far through 2 games. Thielen, same thing. I mean,
yeah,
take out that fourth quarter, and that guy hasn't done
yeah,
anything all season. And it, to me, Kirk Cousins looks so zoned in on Justin Jefferson
yeah,
on every damn play where he's completely forcing it. Whatever. I don't know. I mean, that's one of the biggest things coming into the season. What I was most excited about with Kevin O'Connell with this offense is I figured that it could be any game. Someone could go off on any game. And I know we're only 2
yep,
games into it. There's plenty of time.
yeah,
But I expected this ball to be spread out all over the place between Dalvin Cook, our receivers. Even when Smith Marset was still in the picture, I figured there's
yep.
going to be the fourth receiver, whoever it is. Now it's Rager. So that's my biggest thing that they need to figure out, because Adam Thielen needs to get his ass in this game.
Yeah, Osborn has 6 targets this year.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
that's not good.
that's brutal.
Thielen wasn't even targeted in the first half last night, and that's like the Vikings had 4, I think no, they had 5 drives in the first half yesterday. 4 of them were 3 and outs. Um, and I know people want to say like the defense played horrible, which they did, but they didn't get any help from the offense, and they were probably gassed. They get off the field 3 plays later, they got to get back on the field. That's not a good recipe for success. So they got to figure that out because last year the Vikings did lead the league in 3 and outs. So let's not have that happen again. But yeah,
Hey,
Thielen,
what
oh,
at
go
what
ahead.
point do you think Thielen's going to start getting annoyed by that? I mean, Thielen, season
Yeah, I don't
fan
know.
favorite. I mean, at what point does he say, "Give me the ball"?
I think, well, he said after the game last night, like, I'm just gonna do what I can do, control what I can control, and I'm just like, eh,
Yeah, it's
I
not
think we're
great.
getting there.
That
Getting
didn't
to
take
the we're
long.
getting to the he's gonna get a Stefan Diggs cold soon and,
Oh boy.
have a press conference. Stefan Diggs, by the way, holy
Yeah,
moly last night, dude.
yeah. I could have done without that.
He's very happy to be in Buffalo.
Yeah, they need to figure out Thielen. They need to figure out Osborne. I mean, everything. Spread the ball around. He's so
Yeah.
zoned in on Jefferson.
Yeah, and that might be O'Connell. O'Connell might be like, "Hey," like, it could be the Jefferson ratio, like, like the Moss ratio or whatever. It could be what O'Connell wants, and that's why Cousins is forcing it because he's like, I'm just doing what they want
Yeah.
me to do, which is sometimes what he does, whether it's good or bad. Um, that's just what he likes to follow things by the book, and
It's a
that could be the
coach's dream.
problem.
You do what
Yeah.
you tell him to do.
So O'Connell has to figure out a way for him to be like, yes, get the ball to Jefferson, but if Thielen is like streaking up the sideline or Dalvin Cook's wide open 10 yards down the field, get them the ball too because they can make plays. So
Man, did he miss some open.
he did.
That's the weird part. He's forcing it to Jefferson, but he also missed Jefferson on some wide ass open plays.
Like they were all like all the receivers and all the running backs, whatever, they were like, yeah, we were open like the whole game. They didn't really throw anything at us that we didn't expect. So like we just didn't make plays. And I'm like, that's not encouraging to hear, and I think Patrick Peterson sort of said something similar about the defense, like, that they didn't throw anything at them that they weren't expecting, and I'm like, "You shouldn't say that, like, that just makes you guys look really bad." So, um, just yeah, we talked about the offense, what needs to change, so just, yeah, getting more people mixed up. Hey, how long do you think it'll be until we see, Lewis Cine in the starting lineup?
I saw somebody tweet out
He only had
that
one play last night, I think. He was only on the
exactly.
field.
So
Yeah.
why does Josh Metellus have 10 snaps and Lewis Cine had 1?
Yeah. It's not
That
good.
that's the weirdest part about it. I get Cam Bynum. I'm a Cam Bynum guy. He had a horrible game yesterday,
Yeah.
but that's going to happen.
Yep.
But I don't get why Metellus would have 10 snaps to Scene's 1. I mean, maybe he was. I know he wasn't active last week, so maybe they're bringing him on slowly. But I want to see. I'm torn. I want to see Cam Bynum out there. I want to see Lewis Cine out there. I want to see them maybe get a little funky with Cam Bynum, maybe cornerback, do something out there to get them all on the field. But he was our first round pick.
Yeah.
I want his ass on the field, and I want it out there soon.
Yep.
And especially if this defense is playing like this, get him out there, at least see what he's got. So I don't know. I mean, what are you thinking? You want him to marinate on the bench for a little while? You want him just throw him right into the mix?
I don't know. I think this defense needs more speed. Because I think right now Jordan Hicks and Eric Kendricks, as good as they might have been, I think they're a little too slow these days. And I think if you get more chances to get seen on the field, more chances to get Brian Asamoah on the field, I think more of that is better for the Vikings because Eric Kendricks and Jordan Hicks are veterans. They know where they're supposed to be or whatever, but I don't think they're playing that well so far this year, especially Jordan Hicks. He's had a bunch of missed tackles. He's been getting burned in coverage. It's just not good so far. Things could change, but I just think they need more speed on the field. That's what we've been hearing like all offseason. Like that's what this defense is being built on is the speed and the linebackers, the speed in the secondary. So why don't we get more speed on the field? Because right now they're getting burned by everybody. Christian Watson should have burned them all week 1, but he dropped that pass. Quez Watkins burned him
Irv Smith
last
does it
night.
for us.
He caught it. Yeah. Irv Smith. Please, they shouldn't bring him back next year, right? Like what?
I can't see any way in hell. I mean, when you're feeding Johnny Munt the ball more than Irv Smith, that's an issue. Irv, love when we drafted him.
Yeah,
love the fact that we got him. Let him go start off somewhere else.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to pay him what he probably thinks he deserves.
Yeah.
He could be. Maybe he's a guy that goes and tries to do a 1-year prove it deal, but I'm fine moving on from Irv. I felt bad for the guy, man. He ended up having a decent game after that, but
yeah, he almost dropped his touchdown catch too. I saw he like bobbled it on the way in. I'm like, geez, Louise, man. But
it's fair to say you're not an Irv guy, or what? You want to move on from Irv?
I just think there's a lot of hype around him, and there's nothing to like.
A lot of hope for Irv. Just hasn't.
Yeah, there is, and he's in the final year of his contract, and I know injuries happen or whatever, but that's part of football too. Like you got to stay healthy. He is coming off the thumb injury, so I will give him a little leeway on those drops because it might not.
I'm not giving anything. There's receivers out there that could have caught that with their butt cheeks. That thing was perfect. Catch the ball, man.
Yeah, it
That
was
could have been
right.
a game changer.
It
I
could
don't want
have.
to go to fantasy land, but that was just
Could
like
have.
Watson last week. If Watson
Yep.
catches that, it's a whole different game. Irv
Yep.
catches that, it's a
Yep.
whole different game.
Yep. Yeah, it was. It wasn't good. It was very untimely. And what about Rager? Do you think? Like, I was waiting. We talked about him maybe a little bit earlier, but like, I was waiting for the Vikings to throw him in there and like just have a deep shot on him, just to get him like some sort of redemption in
Yeah.
Philadelphia. Because every time he got the ball last night, it was just huge boos, like 60,000 people booing one person. He might have felt, he probably felt like, like, uh, I don't even know who the villains are in wrestling now, but, like Macho Man when he was a bad guy, or Hollywood Hulk Hogan, just like every time he touches the ball, huge boos. But I thought it would have been a good idea, like back in the day, Aldrick Robinson, he would go on the field and just streak up the field. I feel like Rager's got that speed, and they could have maybe tried that. But they didn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that they're boo your GM, boo Howie whatever his
Right?
nuts
Right?
is for
Right?
drafting his ass. Don't be booing Jalen Rager. You guys got a nice little compensation package for Jalen Rager. We gave you a fourth, whatever, and a seventh for Rager. You should be cheering for that man. You should be cheering for him. And they did actually. I mean, they looked his way a couple of times. I would have
Yeah.
loved for him to go deep. I would have loved for him to take one in the house on a punt return.
He's also only
But
been there for what, 3 weeks? 2 weeks?
yeah, I mean,
So,
it would have been a great story. They could have made a movie on it someday, but the dream is dead.
hey, whatever. If maybe if they meet in the playoffs, by then he's like become like a factor in the offense, hopefully. I think he's got
Dream.
I think he's got a lot of potential actually in the offense,
Hell
but
yeah. And what is he like? He's still only, is it 22? Is it 23? He's very young.
yeah, he's young and he's super fast. Like, it felt like the Eagles didn't really maybe use him the way he was supposed to. It felt like a Cordero Patterson in a Norv Turner kind of offense situation where it's like this guy has a skill set, but you're not really using him the way you should. Yeah, he's 23, so
Yeah.
he's got a lot of time. Him and he can learn some stuff from Justin Jefferson, and that's the thing. Like, they got a lot of weapons, and it doesn't seem like, at least last night, it didn't seem like anyone was really like super wide open as they were against the Packers. I know some guys got open, but it wasn't even close to the Packers. But I don't know. There's a lot of weapons, and they're averaging now 15 points a game, uh, which is probably not what people expected, with Kevin O'Connell being the head coach coming in and from the Rams. But yeah, they need to figure some things out
They
because
need to get some
last
fire
night,
up their
yeah,
butt. That was
yeah,
one of the worst things yesterday. Defense, offense. I don't care if it takes a 15-yard penalty, someone on defense getting on their face. I mean, let's get this squad fired up. There was nothing there yesterday. They were like zombies.
um.
You're in Philadelphia. Come on, let's go.
So let's look back real quick at the last 2 seasons. Would the defense have been even worse if Zimmer was not there?
If I didn't know about the whole Zimmer, just turns out Zimmer was just a crabby old guy. Get
Oh
off my
my
lawn.
god, yeah.
I mean, I can't take that out of the equation. So these
Yeah.
guys weren't even probably playing for him, and they're
Yeah, they
probably
didn't
just
care.
like, this guy's the worst. I don't want to play for him. So I always have that factor in there, but you can't dismiss the fact that Zimmer is a defensive, used to be maybe, whatever it was. Could it have been worse? Absolutely, it could have been worse.
Pre-Kirk Cousins. You can do pre-Kirk Cousins and post-Kirk Cousins things. 2019 though, they were still good. So 2018, 2019, they were
Yeah, I
still,
mean, it just fell off the rails so quick.
yeah.
I mean, they went from like top 10 to just bottom feeders. I mean,
Yeah.
they got so bad so quick. I just think they lost the oomph. I think when Zimmer was there, I loved when we hired Zimmer. I was
Yeah.
all on board the Zimmer
Yeah.
train. I loved it. I love the fact that he just came off as a badass.
Yep.
But it just got stale really quick, and I think the players drank that
Yeah.
staleness and were sick of it. So, but to answer your question, yeah, I do think it actually could have been worse. I don't want to
Yeah.
say that, but I think it could have been. I mean, when you
Yeah.
rattled off the stat that however many yards we gave up yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and Zimmer only did that a handful of times already. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that speaks volumes. We got some
Yeah.
damn good players on defense.
Yeah. It's tough. Yeah, because you said like the Zimmer stick or whatever wore out, and it's probably because they weren't winning. Because if they were winning, probably would have been fine. But they weren't winning, so he had to go. I'm not arguing that he didn't have to go because he did. There was a need for a change. But yeah, he's a great defensive mind. He always has been. I think people didn't don't realize what he was given to work with the last maybe 2 years. They got rid of a bunch of guys in 2019 or before the 2020 season with like they had to get rid of Linval Joseph, Xavier Rhodes, uh, Trey Waynes, Everson Griffin, like a lot of guys that were essential to his success on defense. They had to get rid of, and then they replaced him with 27 rookies that were now cut this summer.
He didn't appear to want on the
So
team.
So it doesn't seem like he was making any mistakes by not playing him. But yeah, so that's kind of it's tough but you know what? He's gone. It is what it is. They got Donatel he's gotta figure some things out right now because you cannot go into a game like that again. You cannot go into the Lions game on Sunday
Oh,
like
yeah,
that
I'm
because
horrified.
Jared Goff actually, like, he would pick them apart. Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown is on fire right now. He's been on fire since, like, the end of last season. He's continued that this year. DeAndre Swift is playing really well as well. Um, let's just talk about it. Next Sunday, Lions. Is that a must-win game for the Vikings?
Shit. Week 3, 1-1 after we beat the Packers week 1, and we're talking must-win games.
Against the
But
Lions.
there's some mildly valid. I mean, Lions, what scares me about the Lions, they are scoring a ton of points.
Yeah.
Why did the Lions score 35 points against the Eagles and we can only score 7?
Right.
That is
They were
not
home.
great.
They were home to us. It was a sold-out crowd for, like, the first time in, like, how long?
Yeah,
Like,
and
2 or 3 years.
Vikings, when they were at home, they same
Yeah.
thing.
Yep.
The Lions have had 2 games, and I believe both have been at home, and they've put up a ton of points both times.
Yep.
So the Lions offense scares me. Is it a must win? When you look at the next couple of games, they got the Lions, and then they go to London for the Saints.
Yeah.
Then they have the Bears.
Saints, not that good.
Yeah, but then they got the Dolphins, who appear to be a little bit of a surprise team. So I'm never going to call the third game of the season a must win. I think it's more of I don't know what you call it. We got to win it, but it's not a must win. We got to win it for morale. We got to win it for the reason why I would consider maybe a must win. I want to see how Kevin O'Connell, Ed Donatil, and this new regime bounces back from such a disgusting loss. If they go out there and get their asses handed to them by the Detroit Lions after last year giving them their first win, stuff's going to start hitting the fan real quick. And I don't care if it's week 3, but they need to beat the Lions. I'm not going to call it a must win. That doesn't make sense, but
Well, there were people who were calling. I remember look at it's week 1 must win. I'm like, guys, let's come on. It's week 1. Every game is a must win in the NFL, realistically.
Well, here, let me rephrase this. It's not a must win for the season, but if they lose this game, I will officially be concerned.
Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, I think the Lions are much better. Like the end of last season, they won like 3 out of 4 games. They almost beat the Eagles. They're 1-1 this year. They get Dan Campbell,
They're
say
legit.
what you will about him and being a big oaf or whatever, but he's actually got some interesting ideas, like the whole player run practice and training camp. I was like, that's a really good idea.
I think he was just hungover. I'm not buying that. He was hungover. He wanted nothing to do with that day. There's no way in hell that flies any other team. I will say it's tough not to be a Lions fan. I don't know if it's to the point where we just feel bad for him or if everybody loves Campbell just because he's a meathead like Tice was, but seems to be a little bit smarter. It's tough not to root for the Lions. And aside from tomorrow, I want the Lions to.
I'd
I
be
want
more
them to do
mad
well.
if the Vikings lost to the Bears in a couple of weeks than if they
If we lose to
lose
the
to the
Bears,
Lions.
then I'm
I will
cashing
be.
in.
But the game, I think the game's in Minnesota against the Bears, which the Vikings typically win the games in Minnesota. You know, it'll be the end of the year. I think it's the second to last game where the Vikings play in Chicago,
I'll shit the
and
bed.
the Bears will be like 2-13, and the Vikings will be like
Every
7 and
time.
8, 7 and 8 on the brink of the playoffs, and the Bears will just randomly win. It's gonna happen. The Bears just look bad, but you know what? The Packers didn't destroy them, so that makes me think like the Packers aren't that good either. Like,
It's going to be very interesting to see how this NFC North shakes out
yeah,
about 5 weeks from now to see where it's standing, because you're right. I mean, the Packers didn't blow them out. I mean,
no.
and the Bears got that first score. I'm like, holy shit, I hope the Bears, this might actually happen. Then it became back to reality. But I mean, what do you think this is an actual must win week 3?
No, I think I'm like you, where like I think it's an important game. I think it would be good to get things back on track. I think if they lose this game, things can go off the rails pretty quick because you do have to go to London. Who knows what can happen out there? It's better than going to New Orleans, but at the same time, London's just a world of its own. Then you got that game in Miami, which is in Miami, which I don't I don't care if the Vikings win the rest of their games heading up to that game. That game is going to be very difficult no matter what. I don't know who is covering Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. Like, if they just want to
Oh
have
my God.
people standing in the end zone the whole time to
That
just
is
try,
terrifying. That
just try,
is
just try and
terrifying.
catch them. I guess we have to hope that maybe one of them gets hurt. I don't like to do that, but that might be their only chance.
You might not like to
Because
do it. I'll do it all day. If they want to get hurt, that's just fine. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. But yeah, that's scary. That's
but
scary. And the Lions got some offensive weapons.
they
Swift
do,
scares me.
they do.
The Vikings have not proven they can shut down the run. And DeAndre Swift is
Yeah,
damn good. And like you
looking good.
said, their offensive line is good. So the Lions they're legit. They're
Line
legit.
the spread's already dropped since last night. I think it was 7.5 at the end of Sunday. It's already down to 5.5. So could be falling even. But the over under is like 53, and I'm like
That seems low.
50. No, it's the same over under as the Bills and Dolphins game, which I was
Wow.
like, that game's gonna be good. Bills and
I
Dolphins.
expect some points. I expected the Vikings to put up points against the Eagles too, though, and
Yeah,
they did not happen.
yeah,
I know
and
nothing.
and looking back, they didn't really put up a whole lot of points against the Packers. Just 23. Um, they didn't do a whole lot in the second half, so their offense might be in a little bit of a funk. So hopefully,
I'm not pressing the alarm buttons yet. It will be, I mean, it had to happen sooner. Kevin O'Connell gets his first loss. Like I said, the biggest thing for me this week is seeing how they bounce back. They can't come up flat. They can't do it at all. Otherwise, a lot of questions will be raised.
all right, one bar. That's gonna do it. You want to just tell people maybe where they can find you and your partner on the YouTubes?
Yeah, hit us up on YouTube, Onebar Lupugus Show. We come on probably more than people want us to, but we're on there daily talking pretty much anything Vikings. And Lupugus usually has a 10-foot beer in front of him. He starts talking a little goofy. So we have a lot of fun. But appreciate you having me on, Adam. We gotta have you over on our show for sure.
Sure.
Shoot some shit, talk some Vikings. So this was good. I
And
appreciate it.
you guys do a bunch of live streams, right? Like you said, you went live after the game last night.
Yep, live
So
after the game, win or lose, and then we go live Wednesday nights, just kind of pregame. So we'll be talking a lot of Lions tomorrow, and we'll have Micro Mike from Detroit Lions talk on. Get to know these pesky ass Lions.
yeah, they're pesky is the right word to use. Yeah, so go check that out. Subscribe to our channel if you're watching on YouTube on here and like this video. And you can get the audio form of this podcast. It'll be out probably tomorrow, which is Wednesday, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts. Go check that out. Make sure to follow the Vikings on Twitter and Facebook. Chris should be back on Thursday, but once again, thanks for joining us, One Bar, and until Thursday, we will talk to you later.